Hello and welcome to the show. I'm on a new computer in this show, so hopefully everything will be working just hunky dory. Our guest this evening had a very strange encounter. I heard him on another show and decided I'd reach out to him. It was out at sea, and it's bizarre the things that happened to him. We're going to bring him in just a second. If you support the show, thank you so much. And our blog is a lot of people have already heard this. But anyway, check out our podcast, UFO.com website. Everything is right there. And for now, we have Neb Borkovich, right? Borkovich.
Good evening.
Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Martin. Thank you very much for inviting me to your show.
Yeah. Welcome. Yeah.
Listening to it for a while.
Oh, you have been listening to shows. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You got some excellent celebrities and very well knowledgeable people in the field.
Yeah, whatever knowledge we can possibly have, right? So if you would give your background, and before this encounter even happened, did you ever even think about the topic of UFOs?
Well, in my childhood, I had a strange nighttime experience, which for a number of years I could not really explain or connect it to the phenomenon in any way. This happened in 1967 in the country of Croatia, former Yugoslavia, where I was a child. By the way, I was born in Belgrade, Serbia, and as a baby, my parents moved to Bosnia, a little town called Prijedor. And around 1965, my family, my father, we moved to Zadar, Croatia. This is where I grew up until immigrating to the United States in 1973 during the regime of Tito, Joseph Broz Tito, communism. So, one night in the summertime, I can't recall a month or whenever. I know it was summer. I was sleeping with my father in a bedroom. There was only us and his mother, my grandmother, in her own bedroom. And for some strange reason, I woke up and I see myself sitting on the edge of a bed. My father was snoring away. And I don't know why I'm up, but I see this little figure. It was shorter than me. I was only 8 years old at the time, quite short, 4'8" or something like that, 4'9". And this thing woke up right next to me, and he kept looking at me. I seen this dark, liquidy black eyes, and it's like seemed to be knowing everything about me, and I had to follow it for some reason. And he started doing the strange dance, up and down arms, and next thing I know, boom! My next memory, I'm in this little closet right next to the bed. It was a small bedroom, and I can feel myself digging through the clothes, and things are falling on me. Pants, shoes, belts, whatever was hanging there was falling on me. And my father woke up and asked me, he held my shoulder and said, what are you doing in that closet? What are you doing? Are you sleepwalking? I said, Dad, I'm looking for those eyes. That's all I remember. And for decades, I had no way of knowing if this was real or what, a bad dream. He told me it was a bad dream. Second experience like that I had following his death in Buffalo, New York, where I lived for 5 years. After Detroit was the first town where we moved in 1973. And then I had another strange night experience like that in a house. This one was, again, sleep paralysis. And the house was an old style, like wooden house, like in Buffalo's they have, with 2 stories. There was a little balcony. It was the middle of a winter. And my bed was facing a door, balcony door with a window with Venetian blinds. And I'm waking up and I can't move. I'm paralyzed, and I see these 2 long claws or fingers like going through the blinds and keeping them open. And there was 2 yellow eyes staring at me. I mean, I freaked out. I finally woke up and I screamed, and something ran towards me. I heard some kind of staccato vocalization, something very quick, little footsteps or something. Then he was gone. I woke up and I was petrified. I mean, turn all the lights on in the house, so there's nobody there, not some phantom. And for a number of years, in 1980s, I think that's where Communion came out, Whitby Strieber's Communion, and
Hmm.
I saw that face on a book, and I absolutely had to buy that book. And believe it or not, I couldn't finish reading it.
Oh,
I had
really?
to throw it out. I threw it away. I didn't want it. I didn't even want the book near me.
How about?
I bought the second book, and many years later, subsequently, I finished reading it. So at that time, during most of my life, before these actual experiences, I had no way of knowing what it is. I read a few books. Watched a few shows. I watched the Encounters of the Third Kind with Jacques Vallée in the background. So it was a fascinating story. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows? It's something science fiction. Maybe I had no idea until these events happened in the year 2000.
So let's talk about that. Um, you how did this whole sailing trip come about? And to begin with, what was the adventure that you set out to do?
Well, Zadar in Croatia it's on Dalmatian coast, Adriatic coast, and my father in the '60s he had a little motorboat, 8-meter motorboat, diesel, and we went motorboating to the islands. It was a fantastic childhood, couple of years that I remember
Hmm.
being on a boat. So I really got to love for the ocean, love for the sea. And after my schooling, which I finished in Buffalo for commercial art, I always had the desire to somehow to be an adventurist. I read many books about sailors, about Columbus, um, Magellan expeditions around the world, first sail. Many other individual sailors going places. So it was something that that evoked the memory of the childhood and desire uh, to get out of a mundane life and go out, hit the sea. Just
Hmm.
something new. See the islands, explore places. So in 1989, in 1981, I moved to Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, and California was very nearby, so I used to go to short trips to San Diego, and I see all the sailing scene over there. And I was kind of jealous of people setting up sail and cruising the bay, and you can see them out there in the open ocean. So said I gotta get a boat, man. This is I said one of these years I'm gonna have to do it. I don't care what size it is, as long as nice looking little boat, I'll do it. So I saved up some money, and then in 1989, I bought my first boat, which I named after my father, a little Canadian sloop, 26 footer. It was called Voyage. And I, practiced sailing around the bay. I was afraid a number of times. There was a couple of storms that happened in between. But slowly or surely, I gathered up all my equipment. I bought the chains, the anchors, whatnot, and I was almost ready. And I had a person that wanted to go sailing with me. And somehow this idea of going to Hawaii right away, I mean, that got spawned. And
So
anybody else
where,
who I talked to, all this,
yeah, I
beg your
was
pardon?
just going to say, where did you depart? Where were you departing from?
Oh, I'm departing from San Diego. I'm talking about my
Oh,
first boat.
yeah, I got
Yeah,
it, I got it. Uh-huh. Yeah.
yeah. And all those old sailors told me, learn something more. Go to Mexico. Don't go into the ocean alone or even with somebody else. It's too far. Don't go to Hawaii. It's a big trip. So I said, well, I don't know. I'll think about it. So I thought about it, and I decided I'm going to do it anyway. So me and my friend, we took off from Los Coronados Islands, right off the San Diego. We left for 3-day trip into the open ocean, and I kind of got started swallowing apples. What am I doing? Is this the right thing to do? It's a huge ocean out here. I don't know. How about if you go back? Okay, whatever you say. You're the captain. So we turned around and we came back to San Diego. Within a week or so, the guy was gone, and I couldn't find anybody to help me. And hurricane season was upon us, right? Coming along, and I was wasting my supplies. I said, I want to do it. Let's forget. Let's do it. So I took off again from Coronados, and took off for Hawaii from San Diego. and this took 52 days. And I shipwrecked on the wrong island. I was shooting from Maui, and I hit the big island of Hawaii, southernmost. By mistake, I made 1 degree navigational mistake, going only by a little plastic sextant, and I promptly hit the rocks, and I was saved by the U.S. Marines on a Sealand helicopter.
Jeez.
Yeah. So a couple of years later, I bought a second boat. I didn't take that one anywhere, just lived on in San Diego for a while. And then in 1998, I bought my last boat, called it after my mother, Mira. And this is the boat in which these experiences and sightings took place on. I was accompanied by a good friend whom I met in 1997, a year or so prior to the purchase of the boat, a Navajo fellow, Donald Begay. He's from a small town in northeastern Arizona on the reservation called Lukachikai. He was fascinated and heard my sailing stories. I read some newspaper articles after my misfortune that came about, and he wanted to accompany me. So we went to San Diego, and he lived on the boat for a while, and I trained him. He became quite a good sailor. So in the fall of '99, we took the boat down the coast of Baja from San Diego, checked it in Ensenada, and made it all the way to the port of La Paz. This journey took 47 days. It was a fantastic cruise. I mean, we stopped off with the islands, beaches,
Nice.
Santa Maria Bay, Cedros Island. Finally made it to La Paz, and this is from La Paz, capital of Baja. This is where these UFO experiences will start in April of the next year, 2000. We left the boat in La Paz for the winter around Christmas season, and Donald left. I secured a boat. Within about 10 days or so, I came back to Phoenix, and we spent Christmas and New Year's and a month, I believe, month or so. I don't really remember right now how long, but we made it back to La Paz together. We took a bus down from San Diego. We made it back to La Paz sometimes in March of 2000, and went to a 2-week cruise to the island nearby, Espiritu Santo. It was fantastic. Came back and continued with preparations. On April 8th of 2000, this is where we decided to go for Hawaii, and we left the harbor on that date. The next evening, this is where the experiences started. We were slowly sailing along the Baja coast towards Cabo San Lucas. Initial plan was to stop in Cabo San Lucas for a couple of days and rest up a little bit on anchor, and then take a hike to take a sail to all the way to Big Island. But this time I had a GPS, far easier to find your location, which came in really handy for marking all these sightings. So we are slowly sailing, very little wind, and the weather was pretty good. Spotty clouds. We were south of Isla Cerralvo, which is about 1/3 of the way from La Paz towards Cabo San Lucas. You have to circumnavigate the peninsula. Donald was asleep. It was late at night, and he was asleep. I was sitting outside, slowly steering the boat, slacking off. The motor was off, and I kept looking up. I was kind of dozing off and hunched back on my water carrying bladders. We took a lot of extra water with us, and and within this cloud, I keep seeing these flashes. It would come off, come on, come off, come on. And there was no rain. It was not lightning, and I more or less expected to see a jetliner leaving the cloud, going towards maybe it was a flight from La Paz to Mazatlan. but that never happened. It was just in the one location of the cloud that this kept happening, not lightning, very unusual. But not seeing anything, I didn't give it much thought. Morning came, and Don was about ready to take over. We already left that position. Not maybe 20 miles or so. I don't know right now. And he finished breakfast and he was washing dishes. And I looked up. I was still outside in the cockpit. I looked up and I see this chrome sphere standing over us, way up. Nothing else. Now, Baja is pretty desolate. Southern Baja, if you've ever been there, there's not
Yeah.
much flying there. There are very few helicopters. You will see a jetliner maybe going to La Paz, or but it would be north of you. Uh, Chrome sphere, and I more or less rubbed my eyes. What's that? By the time it seemed to be surrounded by some kind of a little cloudlet. But I looked back and it was gone. Both the cloudlet and the sphere were gone. So this is a little bit odd. I told Don, he just looked at me and said, what, we should start the engine now. It's a good time to take off. So, okay, let's start the engine. So I agreed. And then later on that afternoon, in the area of Cabo Pulmo, a very nice, right now I think there's a resort of some kind over there, but a small fishing village, very mountainous in a background. I almost both of us see this orangish, reddish object, elongated, just came behind the mountains, and it kind of like a very jerky, swervy motion. It started, it overflew the area and flew back. It was like a very, very strange looking flight. But I really don't know what it could have been anything. It could have been, parasailer. It could be a flight. Who knows? Small plane, helicopter. I don't know. So I really can't pinpoint this one as being a UFO, but it was rather strange. So nothing happened for next 2 days other than we got caught in a storm near Cabo San Lucas. As you know, when you're sailing near the capes, you have the currents that hit each other, and the winds change off the mountains, and capes are usually very stormy. So we got caught in a gale, maybe between 40 to 50 knots all night long. I mean, it was a very, very, it was a wake up call. When you're sitting at the anchor for months, you kind of get lazy and you lose your sea legs, and this will bring the fear into your spine.
Yeah.
All night long.
Yeah.
So we got blown away maybe 30 miles off the Cabo, and I could still see Cabo in the distance. And say let's just forget about Cabo and let's take off. Let's swallow the bitter pill and let's go to Hawaii. Since this is already our mission, maybe we'll get there in a month or so. So okay, Neb, yeah. So that's where we took off, and first day out. First day, I talked to an American ship. There was a freighter going from Panama towards Los Angeles someplace, and I talked to the captain. He gave us a good weather information. Said, weather looks good. You guys are doing just fine. It'll be fine. That night, the first night out, we were approached by a Mexican frigate at night. He just sneaked up on us and demanding identification. Who are you? Where are you going? So he's speaking perfect English. So I gave my name, gave him the boat's name, Mira, all my numbers, passport numbers, and said, yeah, we're going to Hawaii. Have you seen a yellow boat? We're looking for this yellow boat. And I said, no, we haven't seen anything. So he let us go and they left. They could have been an excuse, for approaching us. So that's it. It was the last sight of any kind of shipping. There was one ship I think I seen in the distance a week or so later. Some tanker or freighter going someplace. I don't know. It could have been going north, or I don't know. But very first night out, after the Mexican frigate left us, I believe. See, I got all these dates written in my notes, which I started taking after a third sighting. After third sighting or so out in the open ocean, I decided to keep a log because my mind was already blown. I mean, something's going on. When you see it, like the chrome sphere or lightning, you don't know what to think. Maybe it's my eyes playing with me, or I don't know. First night out, again, very late at night. Donald's sleeping. It was pretty clear and a little bit chilly. It gets cold, even though you're in a tropical Cancer. It gets cold at night. You got to have your parka on and oil skins, and we had little black caps that that I bought at one of the marine chandleries in San Diego. So we were pretty well equipped. We had a little radio, VHF radio, and we had an EPIRB in case of emergency. If you sank or somebody had a medical problem or fire or something, you call and the EPIRB the signal will be activated, and satellites can hear it, and they can zero in on you and report this to the Coast Guard or Navy, whoever, and then you can get some help, if there's a ship nearby. So I'm glad we had that this time, and of course the GPS. So the first night, again, he's sleeping, and I'm out. It was around midnight. I got the time written down. All of a sudden, way up in the sky, I see this green neon light. It seems to be falling, and flying in a straight trajectory. Then it started hopping around like three little hops. Boom, boom, blink, 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 blink. It was blinking, blink, 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 and he entered one cloud and it was gone. I said, "Oh, this is a little bit unusual. What's this?" I told Don about it. He just looked at me. Now Don, he was about 32 years old at that time. He's a pretty decent individual. Very quiet. He was not much of a talker. And
now, can I just interrupt for a sec? So
yes,
it sounds to me like you were taking shifts. Like you'd be up in the night during the night, and then he would pilot the boat during the day. Is that kind of how that went?
Yeah, we had a self-steering gear, and the wire on it broke, so we already knew we couldn't self-steer, so we had to change ships anywhere between 2 to 3, 4 hours, sometimes even 8 hours, depending how well you felt, how much coffee you had, if you're up to it. And usually after 5 days or so, we were both so tired, but nobody could steer anymore. We just went below and passed out. You left the boat in a heave-to position, which backwind the jib, and the boat kind of stops. Actually, the windier it is, the more stable you are, and you're slowly drifting. You can estimate your speed maybe at the half a knot, 1/3 of a knot, and you can sleep 11 hours as long as there's no shipping, nothing to hit you. You're perfectly safe. You're much safer in the open ocean than doing a coastal cruising, where there's boats or fishing vessels or naval. You're much safer out there. No chance you're going to hit anything. So we slept, and then in the morning you can just see how far you drifted, and okay, you get back into your line of position. You have to draw a line of position if you're sailing between Baja or Hawaii, anywhere else, and then you oscillate. A couple of days you're south of it, and you climb north just to keep it in the middle. Kind of like a zigzagging, but to keep the aim up front. Right, 270 west.
I didn't mean to get way off the UFO topic, so so we can continue. So and so the reason I asked that question, I was just wondered if he was out during the night as well, and but you're probably going to tell us, what he saw eventually.
What we saw was the following night. Again, both of us were in a cockpit this time. And again, about the same time, I look up. This seems to be happening right in the direction of your sight. Where you're looking. It's not happening behind you or atop of you. It's happening just where you're looking, almost like to attract that attention to itself. Again, this green blinker arrived, and it was hopping around like it was looking for something. Like you could see one flash blink, and it would blink on the other part of the sky, blink, 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 like it's circling us, looking for something. What the hell is this? And then it climbed right above us, maybe 80 degrees above, and it stopped. Then what happened next? It just buried forever any kind of a question in my mind or his mind. that this was anything else other than something completely unknown, an actual UFO. From stopping, from where it stopped, it made a 360-degree loop very quickly, and it shot straight up into the space, leaving a yellow trail behind it. I might have heard a pop, and he was gone. But this time, he looked at each other. Don, this is not from here. This is why is this happening? And this is the second time, third time we're seeing this. What's going on here? He couldn't give me any answer. He looked at me and said, "I don't know." So at this point, we were both like, but you got to keep going. There's no going back. But you're gonna go back and tell people, I saw a UFO and I'm scared to go now. There's no going back. There's no air traffic. There's nothing to explain it. You see, out in the ocean, there are no police lights. There are no fireworks. There are no flares. There are no, you will see satellites. Sometimes you see a plane. Very rarely you see, but usually an airplane. Usually you can see the contrails that they leave. High above maybe. Especially from that area, there's nothing flying there, except maybe from LAX to Tahiti. There was a flight going to Papeete. Other than that, they would not be on your trajectory.
Yeah.
And of course, satellites come up about 9 o'clock, and you see it. It goes behind a shadow of Earth, and it's gone. Straight trajectory.
Yeah.
These things were hopping around, blinking out, but it was something amazing. This last one that we saw was fantastic. Then the following night, this is when a real funny one happened. Again, this blinker returns. Only this time it was a red color. It came up from
so it was
side.
green. It was green before. Was it green the previous night, or was what? I don't remember you saying a color of what you saw
It
the
was
last.
like a very very bright neon green on two occasions. The first night and the second night.
I see.
First night was a hopper. The second night was a 360-degree loop.
Yeah.
On the third night, a little earlier this evening, this time it was red. Again, blink, 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 and it was falling. It appeared in a falling leaf maneuver. Flying, it would stop and just kind of like a flitter down, and again, flying towards us, and it stopped in a distance. He was just standing there in a haze. And this time, what the hell is this? What do I do? I brought the binoculars out. I tried to record it. We had a little camera, old RCA type of video VCR recorder. We actually put the tape in there. You slap it in there, and it was very unwieldy type of camera. And especially with the boats moving in the waves, it was very hard to capture anything. So I tried that, and nothing came in the viewfinder. I grabbed the binoculars, and it was red, just sitting there. So what do I do now? Why is this thing looking at us? So I got on the radio.
If you had to guess how far away it was, do you have any idea how far away it was from you?
Well over a mile.
Yeah.
Well over a mile.
And it was basically on the horizon at this point?
Closer to the horizon, let's say.
Yeah, I see.
A mile or so away from you. See, I don't know the size of it. It's very hard to determine how big it was. Maybe it was something small, medium size, 20 feet wide. I had no way of knowing how big that thing is. So I got on the radio, channel 16, which is a hailing frequency, ship to ship or ship to coast or coast guard, whoever. And I got on the radio, and I called them. Hello, hello, hello. This is sailing vessel Mira. Please identify yourself. Who are you? What do you want? Do you have any questions? You want to talk? So no answer. And I tried a little Spanish I knew, nothing. A little bit of Russian, Serbo-Croatian, nothing. So Don tried in Navajo, no response. All of a sudden, this thing started moving, and it slowly drifted away, never to be seen. So we had a couple of distant sightings like that all the way to Hawaii.
Wow. This is a question. You can see it. Oh, actually, you said you couldn't see anything there. So Richard was wondering if you could see the water was lit up underneath it. Did you ever see that? Did it light the
No,
water up? No?
no. It was much
Yeah,
higher in the sky.
I see. Okay.
No, no reflection.
Okay.
No
All right.
reflection. Yeah.
So continue on.
So the voyage continues, and this is where I started keeping notes. I got a whole specialized little book that I kept a boat in, sailing log, what we ate, where we are, what's going on, memories from that day, just to keep a record of our trip.
Yeah.
So after these few sightings, I said I need to try to remember as much as I can and try putting these things on a paper. So
Mm.
I recalled all the GPS positions where these things happen, and little drawings I made, sometimes colored if I could. You use green and red color, just to. Otherwise, I would totally forget it. I'm forgetting things right
Sure.
now. After 20 years, it's very hard to remember where you were at, what happened exactly.
Yeah.
If you had one time sighting, especially if it's something spectacular, it will etch into your mind, and you can you can dwell on it, talk about it, explore it, measure on land. With these things, it's very easy to forget. So I knew this is something unusual, uh, very anomalous, and I got to start keeping these the notes.
Mm.
So we had a couple other sightings, distant type sightings, except one, maybe a week or so later. See, this voyage from La Paz to Hilo, where we landed, took 35 days altogether. A little faster than my first trip.
Mm.
By the way, this was a 29 footer. It was an old Columbia Defender, deep keel boat. I made it very seaworthy. So, well supplied. She moved pretty good, but small boat it sails slower than the large yachts. Actually, we were passed by one sailboat in the middle of the ocean called Giselle. We talked on the radio. They had a ham radio, and they conveyed my uh, message back home to my mother that we were okay, not to worry, and all that. So they
Ah.
left.
Yep. Huh.
They left Mexico. Left Mexico a couple of days behind us, and they passed us, and they made it to Hawaii maybe a week before us. I was jealous, but what the
Yeah.
hell? A
Yeah.
little boat with two people, or a single person, you got to sleep. It's just a slow slogging. The weather was good. So other anomalous sighting that we both saw happened in the evening. This wasn't a night sighting. It was still some sunlight out. Uh, there was some wind earlier, last few couple of days, and you could see the clouds. A huge weather front was moving, and the clouds were torn up. When you in the ocean, once you enter the trades, the skies would change. You almost look like you're someplace in Jupiter. White puffy atomic bomb looking column uh, columns of clouds. What's the name of those? Castellanus clouds. And right on top of this huge bank of clouds, there was a small cloudlet uh, drifting along with them by the top. And I was looking, that's a strange looking little cloudlet. It was kind of boomerang shaped like a sausage, but very small in comparison. No, there were no other such cloudlets above. This was the only one. I see this little yellow light come out of there. Small yellow light, just like a very lazy balloon-like fashion. It just flew out of that sausage, and very soon there was a second light, and it flew away someplace following the first one. And then the cloudlet, the sausage cloudlet, turned around, and it slowly drifted away against the wind. It went behind the huge bank of the regular clouds that was below it. So I said, "This is really anomalous, Don. It just blew my mind again. Why is this happening? Why?" And maybe a night before entering the waters of Hawaii, close to Hilo, we already knew where we were. There was one very bright flash in the sky, almost like saying goodbye. And we finally made it to Hilo after 35 days.
And let me just before you move on, I just wanted, how was Don's reaction? You said he's very quiet, but I mean, was he very quiet about this, or did he chime in and tell you what his thoughts about it? Well, how is he reacting to it all?
Oh, he's just mostly like, I don't know, Neb. He was like almost half scared. I don't know. This is I really have no answers. What do you think? So I read something about UFOs. I watched a few movies. This is not an airplane. We both agree this is nothing. This is nothing normal. This is not an aircraft of any kind, not a balloon. So we were both flabbergasted what it could be. Why is it happening? He told me he had some kind of experience in his youth. He was driving in the Navajo reservation, and he saw something red, a column of red lights by the highway. This is the only thing he could help it. We were both totally confused. But the second sighting and the red one, this is what it's just etched in my mind. I mean, this is totally. Everything else, you can tell me, anybody can tell me, Neb, you didn't know, there's no UFOs, there's no such thing. It's a lie. They are here. It's real. So we entered the port of Hilo, little area called Radio Bay. It's a commercial port, a small commercial port. There's some hotels in the area, and a small anchorage. We're up the hook there. And we had to check in with the authorities. Even though you're an American boat, you're coming from Mexico, you got to check in, do the formalities, with customs, and it was a very, very simple thing to do. So by the third day or so, after we ate something, we regained our land legs back. Don, I kind of knew what to expect. After you at sea for a number of weeks, you get on a firm ground, you can't walk. When you're walking around like a drunk, So people were laughing at us. Poor thing, it was falling all over the place, So you were so glad to see land. So I decided to do something about the sightings. Since I already had a number of notes compiled here in the log, drawings, and some video. There were some things flashing in the sky. Really. See, there's no background, there's no land or mountains or houses that you could judge the movement, it was just flashing there. So, but at least I had some video. So I walked up to the police station. It was about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And I knocked on the window, said, can I talk to somebody here? Would you know anybody who could be interested in taking a UFO report? Any person, a reporter or an investigator may want to talk to me about seeing a UFO. About three or four policemen, they came out and they were snickering. We never got any kind of report like this. We know about some Hawaiian legends, and we can't help you. How about if you talk to Coast Guard? Yeah, that's a good idea. Coast Guard, they're in charge of maritime matters, and they patrol the area. They could probably tell me something, or at least take a report better than police. So yeah, good idea. Thank you, guys. I will. So the next day I woke up to the Coast Guard station, and they were right there in Radio Bay, almost next to us. Woke up to the office, and the lady told me, you need to talk to Captain Kevin J. Lopes. But unfortunately, they're out on patrol right now, and they will be back within 5 days or so. A cutter named Kiska that was stationed there in Hilo. So, okay, I can wait. We'll be here maybe about 2 weeks or so. Yeah, I'll wait, no problem. So finally, the Kiska came in. I let him. So the next day, in about 24 hours or so, I don't recall the time. It was afternoon. I went in, and they told me, yes, you can talk to Captain. So I boarded the Kiska. They were waiting for me. Captain Lopes, maybe in his 40s, late 40s, tall, friendly guy. There was another officer there with him, and whose name I can't recall. I didn't jot it down. But they took me to the mess galley, the kitchen area. We sat down. I brought my laptop. Not laptop. I didn't have a laptop. I had to show them the camera. No, actually, they had a VCRs back then. Yeah, you put a
Yeah.
tape to, to watch it on TV. Right, right. That's what it was. So you see the videos. He didn't know what to tell me. I didn't know what to tell him. There's some flashes of lights, some lights moving around, and he made a report. It was very serious. No joking, no snickering. He took the report down and he faxed it to the headquarters, Coast Guard headquarters in Honolulu. And he gave me a copy of the report, which, by the way, I posted in my book. You can find it in the book and all the other articles, and it's been mentioned in a newspaper article about us from from the fall of 2000, after our return to San Francisco. So that was it. We enjoyed the islands. We left Hilo. We went to Maui, anchored off Lahaina for a while, and my initial goal was to stay in the islands for a while. Maybe work or else if you couldn't find a job, you could leave the boat in Honolulu and then fly back to Arizona, work for a while, fly back to Honolulu, and then continue to the islands, maybe Tahiti or New Zealand, something, slowly sailing. That was my pipe dream, but it was not to be. I found Honolulu has changed. Just my first voyage, far more red tape. They put the mooring balls right now. No more free anchoring. No more this. No more that. You got to pay. Only 90 days. All these regulations were set up. So I gave up on the idea of staying on the islands. We went back to Maui, stopped in Lanai for a couple of days, and went back to Maui to the same spot we were at off Lahaina, and decided to make it back to San Francisco, which to be a much longer voyage than coming in, an inbound voyage. So
Is that because of the winds and currents? Did you hear me? Is that because of the winds and currents?
Well, yeah, you have the trades blowing, and then just north of trades, you have something called North Pacific.
Well, I don't want to get you off track, so.
Yeah, it's called North Pacific Patch. Right now, it's full of garbage. North Pacific High Pressure Area. Sorry, yeah. Which is north of trades, and there's very little wind there, and it moves in the summertime. It would move northward. And what you need to do when you're returning to San Francisco, we left from the northernmost island, Kauai. We were on Kauai about 10, 11, 12 days or so. It was beautiful. You need to climb about 1,000 or 1,100 miles up to 38 or 40th meridian.
Parallel, yeah.
To catch the parallel, parallel. Sorry, to catch the Kuroshio current, Japanese current, which takes you straight to California or Washington, towards North America. So we spent some time on the islands. Like I said, in Kauai, it was fantastic. We met a lot of people, and I talked to some sailors about UFOs. Anybody seen anything? They all look at me. Have another beer, you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
That's all I could do. So we left Kauai in the morning, and by late night, the island was already gone. There was nothing to see. We were still climbing in perfect weather, very nice, nice and warm. Opened a full sail. We were slugging along just beautifully. On the reach, you go on the reach because the wind's coming from the east, and the reach is a faster type of fastest point of sail. If you got waves behind you, it's a little tougher, or in front of you, you have to zigzag, into the wind. Many terms I forgot after so many years, many nautical terms. But the first night out, guess what? The objects are around us again. It was almost like something was waiting for us. This time we saw two of them. They would come from different directions of the sky, little yellow things, and just pass each other. Sometimes they would stop and make little circles around each other and separate and fly back in their own ways. Sometimes there was one object, and then a number of days out, this is where something fantastic happened. I saw this light coming at us very high up. And I decided to do something different. I grabbed my light, my reflector light, searchlight, half a
Mhm.
million candle power light. And I shone it directly in direction of the thing, of the object coming at us. And it stopped and flew back. It reversed its course and just shot back where it came from.
Wow.
Almost like I startled it.
Huh.
Maybe half an hour later, the light is returning, stops, and it starts lighting up. There was a large circle of light, like growing. It was like an explosion of light in a circular explosion. But this time, it gave me. This was something that was happening, not the quick flash. It was going like a pie expanding. I dove. Wow! I dove below and I grabbed my camera and I was able to capture maybe 15, 16 seconds of that video. And it contracted back to its shape, to its original size, and nonchalantly flew away. It was
Let me
almost
ask
like a
you this.
response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. You sent me a video. Is that the video? Is that the video where you captured it? It's just a very short, like a few seconds. It says uh, like Orca or something like that on it. What
Oh,
does that video
that
show?
that was a different video. This one
Oh, okay.
of the expanding lights and the one the short lights. These two were analyzed by Mufans Jeffrey Sanio after our return to Arizona. I sent the materials to him, among other exploratory uh, efforts I made. Uh, no, that one was where the object disappears instantaneously. So
Hmm.
this wasn't it. That happened later.
Oh, okay.
Instantaneous disappearances happened on 3 occasions, uh, but only one that I captured was in full focus, enough for Sanyo to work with. Yeah.
I see.
So we've seen this maneuver about 3 times. Uh, so this, I became I started thinking that this was some kind of a response to me blasting with a light earlier.
Yeah.
It was almost like somebody was maybe inside of an object looking at you, and you shine the light. It startles them, and they go back, and they came back playfully to retaliate. Look, I got the light too. I can do the light too. It was almost some kind of a very primitive communication going on, which actually happened too. On a couple of occasions, I exchanged light signals with objects. They would come very high out of nowhere. Totally blacked out sky. You start seeing these flashes. So what I did, I took my light and I started pointing towards where it came from, 2, 3, 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it would answer 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. He would be gone. So wow, I
Yeah.
actually communicated with a UFO. Uh,
Can I just ask
and
you
then,
something? We're losing you. I can only see your glasses. You have a light that you can turn on?
yes, I got a light. Yes,
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
ready for that. Hold on
All
a
right.
second. How's this?
That's better. Yeah. Now
Okay.
we can see you too well. Yeah. No, so continue going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah. Uh, the closest sighting that we had happened on July the 12th. We were again late at night. Both of us were outside steering the boat. Our engine was on, and I see a point of light high in the sky, kind of going in our direction, and it started descending, coming down. I said, what is this, Don? What? Take a look at this thing. This is a little funny. It started coming closer to us, actually descending, and I seen some flashing lights on it, flickering lights, and this was a structured object.
hmm,
This was, I cannot tell you the height, maybe 2, 3 thousand feet, but it was something horseshoe shaped, like a horseshoe flying in reverse. It had a row of red lights at the nose part of it, beginning part of it, and some kind of a squarish light in its stomach, perfect square, lit up, yellow lit up square. And then it flew, and then I could see some kind of a squarish light in the back, in his tail area, end area, rear.
Hmm.
The engine was on, but I think I could hear some kind of a noise, some kind of a very very muted, raspy generator type sound from it. And then within a half a minute or so, there was another object following it in the same trajectory, following the first one. Same shape, a horseshoe with a square light on its stomach and a square light in its back, but less, maybe only 2 red lights up front, not 4 like the first one. And then they
Yeah.
came back. So altogether, we had 3 overflights. If you count two crafts, so it's 6 overflights. Now,
All right. I have to break in for just a second here. For those of you on YouTube, hang in for KGRA Radio. Thanks so much. We'll be back next week with Melanie Kirkdorfer from the Great Barrington UFO sighting, the Berkshire's UFO. Thanks so much, KGRA Radio. And here we continue on here. So we're just going to keep rolling here on YouTube. And so continue on. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Had to make that break.
No, yeah. So this was a close sighting. These were 2 structured objects that flew over us 3 times, made 3 overflights. Now, any skeptic would say, why would this be happening to you? Maybe you just seen airplanes. Now, you tell me, in the middle of the ocean, 1,000 miles offshore, what kind of interest would any kind of airplane that's carrying passengers or a military crew be having in a blacked out little small sailboat, and how to find it at night?
Right.
I've talked to the Coast Guard expert about the very question. I asked him, if somebody's in trouble, how would you find a little boat at night? He says, impossible.
Yeah.
At
I
that
mean, you
time,
have
they
what?
had
You have the anchor lights. I mean, what else? You don't run lights, or do you run lights? Or if they're just on
well,
top of the mast? Yeah.
if you see a ship coming, you see, once we
Yeah.
reach the 38, then you enter the area, shipping lane where tankers and freighters
Right.
go.
You want to get out of the shipping lanes. Yeah.
Almost like a highway. Yes, this is where you would
Yeah.
have your lights on. Only if you see a ship, because I don't have that much battery power. I have to
You have to run
conserve
the
my
motor.
battery.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you find a blacked out sailboat and have the energy and desire to descend from 50,000 feet to look for some little sailboat at night?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. So this is something that can find a boat at night and make these overpasses. And then once I had the videos analyzed by Jeffrey Sanya and blown up, you could see this shape of a horseshoe looking from below that roughly matches the object that we saw. This happened 2 days earlier. The recording happened 2 days later after the overflights. So there's no way for me to know that this would show up as a horseshoe from the video. This was year 2000. I never even seen a computer. I never owned a computer. I could only in 2002, I believe, how to make an email. I had nothing. No backup computers to fake anything. And MUFON has seen my tapes. Reporters in San Francisco have seen my tapes. So it is what it is. How would the horseshoe show up on a video of something that I already put in my log at sea? So
right. We've had some questions pop up here in chat. Do you want me to get to them, or do you want to continue on?
Go ahead. So.
All right. Here's one.
I got a little excited. Yeah.
From Rob wants to know if you can describe one of the lights in detail. Was the light at a point, an orb, an oval? I know you mentioned the horseshoe thing, but in particular, when you were seeing these lights, did they look structured in any type of way?
the horseshoes were structured objects. There was some kind of a vehicle.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't. There was no wings. There was no underbelly. Just these strange lights. There were like three lights leading towards the stomach of it. There was a big square one, and the four of lights up front. Four
Mm-hmm.
very kind of like a dimish, but they were red. They were not really bright, but you could see it was something like flying over us. Other object that we saw was just a regular yellow circle, like orbs or orb type of a
Yep.
thing. But
Yeah.
it was much higher in the sky. And sometimes it would flash. Sometimes it would just be almost like the camera flash cube coming from the sky. And usually those are the ones that disappeared or the ones that I made contact with lights with. And one of them I was able to capture. The
Yeah.
one instantaneously disappeared. That was the
Now,
most fascinating one later.
now I'm going to play this little clip. I know you said you can't see anything that I'm playing on this side. So if you hang on just 1 second, I'm going to play this clip because it's now that clip just showed something coming in and out, but you couldn't, and it kind of moved funny, but it could have been the motion of the boat. That was a clip you had sent me earlier that said orca something on it.
Oh, okay, yeah. The motion of the boat, yes, the motion of the camera, but not the light itself. The light disappears itself. The light
Yeah, the light
itself
disappeared.
disappears.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is what Jeffrey Sanyo, a MUFON investigator, whom I sent all these things, found very anomalous. He said that nothing could disappear like this at this velocity because of the speed of the video frame is 1/30th of a second. In one frame is here, the next frame is totally gone. And what we did, he sent me the report, and he didn't really develop much into it, other than told me it's anomalous. He thought, a skeptic would say this is merely going behind a rigging, said, but he couldn't see the rigging, and he said he can't be explained otherwise. So I was very fascinated by this, and I wanted to know where this thing disappeared. But this happened later, after our arrival.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want you to
Uh,
continue on your journey. You're heading back towards San Francisco. That's
yeah.
where you were
So
talking about that. Yeah.
yeah. So we had a couple of sightings like that. By this time we were almost like a UFO hunting team. We were scanning the skies.
Yep.
Binoculars were ready. Camera was ready. What's next? What's going to happen next? Are they going to land or? I've never seen anything coming out of the water. None of those type of reports. In one time in the
Mm-hmm.
distance, I'd seen a green, roundish green flash of light in the distance, closer to the surface of the ocean. But it was the only time, so I don't know. I don't know if there's anything below us or coming out of the water, going into the water. Nothing like that. Nothing really close. Those horseshoes were the closest overflights of something structured. Um, but about 11 days prior to our arrival, something extremely anomalous happened that at that time I really couldn't place, but it proved to be of paramount importance later on. A strange dream that my friend Donald had. I was asleep and he was steering the boat, and this happened very late at night between July 26th and 27th. I was asleep, and about 5 in the morning it was my turn to take over. I wake up and make some coffee, and he said he had a headache. His eyes were bloodshot. He looked really tired, and he said he had a headache in two spots on his scalp. I said, "Well, you just go below and get some sleep. To take an aspirin, and sleep as long as you want to. I'll be okay. Whenever you wake up, get ready, eat something, and you can take over." So okay, Neb, thank you. He went to sleep. I was steering, and uh, it was very chilly night, and towards the morning, of course, you get warmer. You start taking your jackets off, and it was a very nice morning. He he wakes up, kind of looking, staring at the space, and he said, "Neb, I had this strange dream." I said, "Well, that's funny. Can you tell me about it later?" Said, okay, let me have some coffee. So, it took a while, kind of moping around. I said, well, can you tell me about the dream? He said, well, I dreamt that I was back home, back home in my town, Lukachikai, northern Arizona, Four Corners area, near Canyon de Chelly, a small community. Uh, I'm standing at night with my brother on this little hill near our property, close to our hogan, a traditional Navajo home, eight-sided, made of logs. And usually they throw dirt for the roof, and it's kind of like almost like a little UFO, eight sides. Uh, the doors always point to the rising sun. Uh, in my dream, I'm standing with my brother, and we see this huge object full of lights coming down and flying over our town. It was almost like a little advertising lights in New York, bulbs changing, flashing, and it flew over the town and it ascended into the clouds slowly. And my brother, in his dream, his brother passed away subsequently at age 50. Uh,
Hmm.
my brother said he had to go away and look for his cat's eyes. So, well, this is a strange dream, Don. This is really weird. But at the same time, his dream kind of made me think of the similar dream I had back in 1997. And in this dream, my personal dream, I was alone in my apartment, and I'm dreaming. It was a very beautiful dream. The skies were blue, and all of a sudden, the sky exploded with UFOs. There were saucers, there were balls, there were rockets, there were these little things, and uh, all of a sudden, they're all moving away in my dream, and this type of crownish, very vaguely shaped object, almost like a mothership, is coming in my dream. And so, wow, look at that. And next thing I know, I'm realizing I'm trying to wake up, but again, I'm in sleep paralysis. I can't move. But I see my eyes are opening, and I realize I'm in my room. It's very dark, pitch black, but I can't move. And there's somebody standing in a hallway, very close to my bed, and looking at me. When you wake up and you had that kind of a strange feeling that somebody's staring at you.
Hmm.
Even
Hmm.
if it was a person staring at you, it was kind of a little scary. And next thing I know, I see the shadow like a torso. It made a move, pointed upward, and it just almost looked like a ghost. It's very dark. It sailed right to the ceiling. So his dream kind of reminded me of my dream. This is weird. I think I might have seen this crown type of thing before. I don't know. Weird. Don, I have to ask you something. Could you please put this in a paper in our logbook before you forget it? I said,
Hmm.
okay, give me a minute. So he had some coffee. He sat down and took out a notebook and a green and yellow paper, yellow pen, and a ballpoint pen, and this is what he drew. This is the original. I think you have there in a picture too. Let me
Oh,
move
yes,
my
I have that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
This
wait,
happened
that's not
on
it. Here it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
July 27th. This is exactly from the log. Here it is.
Yeah.
It's a whole little book. Yeah.
I've got it right up on the
So
screen here. I know you can't see
it
it,
took
but here it is. Yep.
yeah, it took him a little over a minute to do it very quickly, almost like automatic. It turned out to be some real nice kind of design. So, wow, this is weird. He showed this little crown flying towards the sky, and he is outside of his hogan looking up. And on the other part of a diagram, it shows a circle with lines and some dots and something crownish at top of it. So in his dream, this was supposed to be an entire object. The bottom part, he says this was a bottom. It says right on there. It was supposed to go underneath that crown looking thing. So this is weird. So we finally made it to San Francisco, and I went underneath the bridge. I mean, I have all these things in video. This is all verified. Uh, and anchored off Richardson Bay in Marin County,
Yep.
north of San Francisco
I used to
itself.
live in Marin County. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that. Yeah, it's a beautiful area, very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Many artists there. Many sailors.
Yep.
and it's a
Yep.
very cold summer over there. It blows like
Hmm.
hell.
Right.
So after we again regained our land legs, and we wanted to do something about the sightings. I mean, but this time I had a couple of good videos and even more material in my logbook, and we were back to civilization. Fantastic. Uh, Again, I was looking for MUFON. I was looking for any kind of organization that could help me, and I really couldn't find anything in Yellow Pages in San Francisco, local. so, so maybe some reporter would know something. So I got into the phone booth and opened Yellow Pages. This newspaper, this TV station, this radio station. Nobody wanted to talk to me.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're a Chinese station. We're a Christian station. Oh, we're out. We're out to lunch. You got to talk to this guy. Maybe we'll be back. I don't know, Monday or something like that.
Yeah.
So maybe about a dozen calls like that, I was just blown off. And
Hmm.
finally, a newspaper called Marine Independent Journal answered, and they wanted to talk to me. They
Yeah.
didn't
I know
stay
the
on the phone.
paper well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And they referred me to, let me speak to a lady named Jane Futcher, Futcher, something like that. And we made an appointment. She said we couldn't come. We can send a photographer to take your pictures on a boat, but she couldn't come out of security reasons. Okay, fine. So can you come to our offices? So sure. So we made an appointment. We both of us went there, and it was fantastic. We gave her the full report. We showed them all these materials, and she took the story down, and she referred me to Peter Davenport. She knew
Oh.
about him.
Yep. Hmm.
So he was the first ufologist that I talked to. Uh, I promised to send him the copy of the tapes once I made them, and copy from my notes. And he told me once you get to Phoenix, because we didn't know what to do. We were going to go back to San Diego. What do we do with the boat? We can't leave it anchored here. So within a week or so, we decided to leave it in storage in Alameda, close to the
Yep.
naval shipyard over there. There's a little boatyard. So I made
East Bay.
arrangements,
Yep.
and the boat was, yeah. It was there for about 2 years or so before we took it back to Mexico for a second time in 2003. So after some time, after this meeting with reporters, we took a bus back to Phoenix, and
So just before you move
Davenport,
on,
yeah,
I have the article, the Marin Independent Journal article up on the screen. So were you, after this article came out, did this go into any other press? Did anyone else grab a hold of the story?
no, no calls, no efforts to reach me at all,
Wow, that's
except
unreal. Yeah.
I think through MUFON. I don't really recall how it happened. We got in Phoenix once we were in Phoenix. Fox 10, station Fox 10 in Phoenix. They wanted to talk to me. I think
Hmm.
MUFON told them about it, and they send a reporter to take the story down. But before that, uh, Davenport gave me a number for MUFON in Phoenix. I think a man named Sylvester was a director, Arizona director at that time, and gave me a number for Tom King, who was a videographer who actually recorded some the Phoenix Lights himself, among other
Oh.
people who did
Hmm.
it in 1997. So I had the number for Tom King and number for MUFON. Once we came back to Phoenix, see, Don had to go back home. We waited for a couple of days for MUFON to send people over to take a report. Then he went. I stayed in Phoenix because that's where I lived, and Don went back to Lukachikai. So MUFON sent out a team, 3-member team led by the man named Jim Kelly, and he brought along Judy Warrens and Jason Ingraham. Judy Warren was later to be a state director of Arizona after Sylvester. And Jim Kelly was a main investigator. So we filled out their form. They listened to us. We gave them the copy of the videos, and that's all they could do. We filled out the forms. I talked to Ingraham, and Warren talked to Don. So after a couple of days, Don goes back home. I stayed in Phoenix. That was it. Then later on, the Fox News came, and that story came about. And they made a very nice little report, maybe a 10, 12-minute report. But they left me. They left me off. They said the guy's seen a Venus, and this was just nothing else but Venus that he captured. They only showed that one subject. So I'm the strange guy in a boat that sees Venus. That's about it. It's some encounters of the third kind music in the background. That was it. So
yeah, of course. Yeah.
So this time I kind of, but I was really intrigued with this, and I wanted to continue investigating. But on September 20th, something strange happened in Lukachkai. Actually, on September 23rd, I get a call from Don. He says, "Guess what, Neb?" I said, "What?" "I saw a UFO in Lukachkai." I said, "No, but this time I'm a skeptic. What are you talking about? What UFO?" "Yep, me and my niece and some other people, we've seen a UFO, and I took a picture of it." I said, "No. Are you serious?" "Yes, I took 3 pictures." "With what?" I said, I have a little Kodak throwaway camera." I said, "Okay, well, can you please get this to me somehow? Can you mail it, or well, I'll come down in a few days." I said, "Okay, good, come down for a visit." So he comes down, he brings me the camera, and I took it to Walgreens myself to have the video, to have the pictures developed. There were 3 pictures that came out, and one was totally blurry. I couldn't do anything with that. But 2 of them,
Yes.
you could see a little whitish spot there in the distance, in approximately the same location as his dream was. And later on, I found that other people had seen it. Some knew him, some were friends, some were not. They had seen a similar type of object coming at night, like lighting up and falling down near the mountain. Something anomalous, some strange lights that would blink out or make a flying leaf maneuver. Uh, so something was going on, and I was fascinated by this picture. And I took it to Tom King. First, Don told me that the sighting lasted for 40 minutes. He noticed it standing over the mountains, way up high in the sky. The Chuska Mountains, they're called. Uh, uh, and he said he looked at it through binoculars. He called out to his niece. Her name was Nina. They both came out and they looked at the binoculars. And according to both him and her, it was something glass-like or metallic, reflecting lots of light off of it. And they said it lasted for 40 minutes or so before it vanished. So I took this picture along with my sailing videos to Tom King, and he put it in his bank of computers. And he said, "I'll look into this." And I said, "What about? It's just a little white dot." And I said, "Well, don't worry about it. My computer can find out what it is, what kind of values." That's what he said. You can read the values of what could be in there. Of course, there was no any wing. This is anomalous. This is some kind of a UFO. He said there are no wings at all. Now, Lukachika is a very isolated little community. Nothing flies there. I think there's a video on YouTube where it shows a helicopter came, a military helicopter came once, and there was a big event. So there's no helicopters, there's no balloons, there's no tourist flights. They're all over Kayandushay. And there's a small airport in Chinle where they send out flights, once in a while to show the canyon, but nothing over Lukachkai, which is good 30 miles or so north from there. Uh, Only thing that you could see at night or daytime are jetliners, and nothing would stop. Not even a balloon would stop in the distance and stand there for 40 minutes.
Hmm.
Can you think of something that could just stop and stand there, and observe the town, So
No, not really.
that was weird. So Tom King couldn't identify it as anything that could be explained. So it took 4 years for me to figure out what really happened, So in the meantime, I was already fascinated, and through MUFON, I met this real great lady. Her name was Ruth McKinley Hover. She was a professional psychologist, and she was connected with a group called PEER, Professor John Mack's PEER group, people who were interested in abductions. Now I don't remember any kind of an abduction, missing time, anything like that happened during this voyage, or I started connecting the childhood episode to something that could be anomalous, maybe, but I couldn't piece things together. So I started going through MUFON. I went to first meeting, and the second meeting, and I met a lot of people. I even met Bud Hopkins, you know.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I decided, I met Bud Hopkins. We chatted for about 15 minutes in San Francisco because my boat was still there, and Ruth decided to meet us there. They had some huge international congress over there. A number of people showed up. Linda Moulton Howe was there, I think, and Bud Hopkins, and Ruth introduced me to Hopkins. It was very memorable, very memorable moment in my life.
Mm-hmm.
By that time, I decided to write this little book named Followed, in which I completely laid out all these events perfectly. From the notes, from the memories, from the videos. I really investigated very hard. So at that time, actually, I didn't know what to think about the phenomena. I just took a popular culture type of idea that it's just something extraterrestrial, somebody coming here off and on. I watched some shows, I watched the movies, I talked to people. I didn't know what kind of decision to bring about this, but I wanted to investigate further. So, knowing that Ruth was very good in investigator in his her own group of people who are so-called experiencers, who had some kind of anomalous experiences, abductions, visitations, spiritual upheavals, who knows what. So
Mm.
I decided to undergo hypnosis with her. So I came to her office one afternoon, and I didn't think I was going to get hypnotized. This is not, it's not going to happen to me. You can try.
Mhm. Yeah.
So she relaxed me pretty good. I started drifting off, and she said, "You guys are slowly sailing, and you're seeing this light in the sky, and tell me what happens. What's going on here. And I'm trying to follow her voice. I'm seeing myself in a boat. Pretty soon, I'm losing her voice. It's almost like in the background, and I find myself floating. I'm in the air, somewhere in the air. It's night. And I see down there, there's ocean, there's sea below me, but I can't see Mira. I can't see the boat. Where am I doing in the sky? You know? Next thing I know, I see this saucer sticking out of a cloud halfway, and there's some little yellow light right at the bottom of it, almost like oscillating. So what is this saucer doing here? What's going on? And I'm kind of like floating towards it. Next thing I know, boom, I'm in some kind of a little cramped quarters, like a little beige type of room, like a small car, yellowish wall around me. And pretty soon this is transforming. It's trying to transform into some kind of a ceiling, uh, black ceiling above me, and a green neon light, a wall of green neon light is forming. And I kind of feel some kind of a commotion around me. Something's going on. And by this time, I almost had a heart attack. I mean, I stopped, I couldn't breathe. I was very excited. And she started, Neb, relax, relax. I was screaming, you know. She brought me out of it, said, your mind doesn't want to go there. I said, okay.
Mm.
But within a week or so, I get the report from Jeffrey Sanio about the light that disappears. This is anomalous. This is all
Mm-hmm.
he said. Only thing you can see, like you see right now, the video you showed, the thing
Yeah.
disappearing, you can watch the video 1,000 times over. This is all it's ever going to do. Okay. So He didn't enlarge it. He didn't tell me much about it. There's nothing he can tell me other than nothing can disappear this fast. So, okay, what do we do with this? So who could help me? Nobody was available. I tried to look to some other people who helped me. Nobody had the time. Everybody avoided me. Everybody delayed. I talked to a couple of investigators in Phoenix. No help. So what do I do with this? I want to know where the hell this thing went. What is it? You know, I heard that things could be blown up or cleaned up, and let's see what this is. So I decided. I found one studio in Phoenix with a video equipment. They didn't do any kind of a UFO analysis per se. They could just enlarge and stop the frames. And I asked him, "Can you stop the frame? Can you clean it up?" So yeah, we could do that. So it cost me about $300, for maybe an hour or so of visitation to the studio. They stopped the frame. I said, "Please clean it up, blow it up, make it big, and see what it looks like." And it shows a saucer. I think you have the picture there.
Oh, this is the real bright picture.
Yeah, the real bright picture. This is a raw image of it. The one below it, a little cleaner. It's the saucer. It came after it's been
I'm
cleaned.
going to have to look for that because I don't remember seeing that picture. But continue on. I'm going to open my email and take a look. But go ahead.
Yeah. So it showed a saucer, and we promoted the video to where it disappeared. There's nothing. It's just black frame. And he said, "There's nothing I can tell you. It's just this. This is what it is. It's here. What are you going to do with it? Well, can you take this frame after it disappeared and blow that up, clean it up?" So he gave me that. There was nothing there, but he gave me the frame. But at that time, they were put on these little floppy disks in 2001 or so. At that time, there was a level of technology. There was a lot of little floppy disks. I mean, some younger people may not even remember it.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Floppy disks. Yeah, he gave me a floppy disk of a saucer and a frame after it. So I decided to figure out, to look into where could this go? Why did it disappear? So I had a good friend who was very very crafty with computers. He put the floppy disk in, and we started magnifying it, the one that was improved. Magnified, maybe a number of levels of magnification becomes a little white spot, or maybe 4 pixels. 4-pixel white spot, elongated like the saucer before it. So that you can estimate speed of the video frame is 1/30th of a second, and it moves at the velocity of speed of light. Light is light, 180,000 miles an hour. So this thing, from being here, being visible, to total vanishing, it took off at the speed of maybe close to 6,200 miles, 6,200 miles an hour, 1/30th of a second acceleration. And then later on, I have this. I'm seeing this thing in hypnosis, seeing a saucer in hypnosis. And there are reports of people seeing saucers or similar object before, during, and after our experiences in Hawaii and sailing. So we got some backup there too. Other people seeing it. I found some reports on Devonport's site, New Fork. You can go back into dates and years and months and shapes and whatnot, and find what people approximately have seen around that time. So they were seen in Mexico, they were seen in California, they were seen in Hawaii, and
Interesting.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Hey, well, but we're right about at the end of the show here. Is there anything you want to wrap this story up with?
Well, what I would like to say, we didn't have time to get into this, and I plan to write a book about this later. I'm already compiling a lot of information. His dream turned out to be a very sophisticated type of a message from beyond, some other kind of intelligence that was activated for me finding this book about the Pueblo Shields, in which diagram that I saw was very similar to what he drew, and then opened a whole new vistas for me. And this is what I'm working on right now. and getting
I see.
deeper into the origins of the phenomena itself, which I
Okay,
do not believe is.
I'm popping up the two images, one that he drew and one that is another shield. I know you can't see any of the images, but anyway, I'm popping up the images you sent me about the shield, so they're up on the screen now. The Pueblo ones is I'm showing right now, and there are some similarities without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the problem is, usually on these shows, by the time I tell the Pacific actual sighting stories, but the time is over, So this is going to have to be a subject for a new book. But I already made lots of inroads about the phenomena, and I personally do not think it's extraterrestrial. It just doesn't jive with anything, with actual. It is something paraphysical that can be physical and seen and recorded by many people. At the same time, there's other part to it that's invisible, and it's dwelling into some kind of a no-time environment. And they can actually, almost like putting a suit on, putting a shirt on, climb into this technology and come to this side of existence and present themselves for a while, and then go back where they're from. And,
there's a guy named
I believe,
that runs a radio show. You may want to contact him at some point. His name is Paul Eno, and he's in the Rhode Island area, the Massachusetts, Rhode Island area. He does a show every Sunday. Paul Eno, he kind of has the same theory along with what you're saying here right now. He thinks that there a lot of things are related, but almost like another dimension or something like that going on. But anyway, I thank you so much for your patience. I'm really glad we worked out the bugs earlier. We got you on the show. I didn't think that was going to happen for a while, but thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Martin.
All right, now, hey, do you have a website or some way people can get in touch with you?
No, you can contact me on Facebook. Send me a friend request. As long as you're not a lunatic or a dangerous person, I'll answer. I usually answer.
Okay, and so those of you listening to the to get the spelling right, listening to the show, you'll see his name in the show, and actually the show notes, more information in there. Thanks so much, Neb. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Martin.
All right, take care. All right, everyone. So that's it for now. Thank you for joining us through this show, and we'll be back next week.